This is the perfect tutorial for your deadlift technique. Let's start. The deadlift is a very old exercise. There was a period when everybody thought that this was the key exercise to build strength, muscle, and all the right things to win, for example, a bodybuilding show, because many of the famous bodybuilders used to perform this exercise and really invest energy in it. It's a pretty good full body exercise, mostly targeting your posterior chain. That means your back, lower back, and upper back, also your hamstrings and your glutes. It's a hip dominant movement. It's a pretty concentric exercise because when you get ready to pick the barbell off the floor, your muscles are already activated, they are tight, shortened. You pick it up and from the top portion, you can release the barbell, throw it on the ground, and there is no muscle lengthening or eccentric forces. This can be great for building strength and also for physiological adaptations or hormonal benefits. Now today I will try to teach you the conventional deadlift from my experience and also from my coaching experience by trying to teach thousands of clients on how to perform this exercise. So the world record for deadlift is 500 kilograms or 1,100 pounds. And too much weight is the main reason why people get injured or sore backs. There's a lot of ego lifting present in the deadlift because it's not like the bench press or the squat. When you can perform a squat or a bench press, you just can't pick it up. And in a deadlift, if you can't pick it up, you just release it and it's all good. Well, sometimes it's not good because a lot of injuries can happen there. Now, let's say you are a beginner and here's how I would like you to start. So you will set your feet somewhere around hip width apart. That's usually the sweet spot for 99% of the people. Maybe you can try with a little bit wider, or maybe you can try to open your feet a little bit slightly. I like feet forward, and if you have any issues with that, they're gonna open by themselves. I'm setting my feet first. Now, like I said, we start with an empty barbell. We don't put any weights. We want to learn through the movement pattern. So I will squat down just to pick up the barbell because we will start from the top right here. Now I will set my arms somewhere around shoulder width apart, but the main key here is to have your arms just outside of your legs so they do not bother your legs when you perform the movement. Now from here, we want the bar to be touching or to be very close to the body. Deep press your scapula, boom. From here, you start with a hip hinge, boom, your butt goes back, slight bend at the knee joint. I want my bar to keep on pressing towards my legs. From here, I go down, boom, 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 boom. We want to finish somewhere at mid tibia. So your lower leg, half point there. From here, I'm finished and I go up. That's because we have an empty barbell and we don't want to go all the way down. When you have the plates will eventually touch at that point. Now, let's check out those lines. So basically when you start with the hip hinge, there's a slight bend at the knee joint. And from here, I decrease a little bit more. Now you can see that my back is also diagonal and also my thighs are diagonal. You don't want to have a parallel thigh, this position right here. This is a rare position for most of the people because they are tight at the hip joint. Or also, you don't want to have a parallel back. This is a different deadlift. You can set up a tripod or someone filming you from the side so that you can check up on your lines. Now, this is a great way to start learning the movement pattern that occurs throughout the deadlift. And as you can see, I'm also barefoot right now. I'm not using shoes for the deadlift because it's very important to have stability in your foot and also good control. The traditional shoes we wear can provide some instability while performing the movement. And when you have a lot of weight on the bar, that's an issue. So it's better to leave the shoes aside, or maybe if you have weightlifting shoes. Once you master this move, you can start adding some weight. Use this as a warm-up to remind yourself of the movement pattern. Start loading up the barbell. Like I said, the deadlift is different when you start from the bottom, and a deadlift exercise is when you start from the bottom. The previous exercise I just showed you with an empty barbell was to try to learn the movement pattern that occurs in the deadlift. Now when we load it up with plates, you'll see how's the starting position and what cues to watch for. So this is our starting position, and it's very important to have your barbell right on top of midfoot or very close to your legs. You don't want to have your bar forward because that means much more stress on your lower back. From the start, we want to have those diagonal lines in the thigh and also in the back. How we're going to do that is to get in line with that starting position that we previously practiced. You want to extend your arms, so you want long arms. What that means is you want to depress your scapula and also do a little bit for retraction so that I can activate my lats or my upper back because they are very important in the pulling motion. And from here, you also want chest up. That is a great cue that I use often with my clients. You don't want to have those parallel horizontal lines like we said and the chest above the bar. You want to have chest up position right here. It means I'm watching myself, my chest is up, long arms, and from there I perform the movement. Now, let's say you can't get in this position because many people are tight at the hip joint, or also they are long lever. It means they are over 200 centimeters. Let's say you can't get in that starting position. Here's what we're gonna do. I have these cubes, which are great for elevation, but if you don't have something like this in your gym, you can also use additional plates. You will place the plates. For example, you will see where the bar plates are, and you want to place the other plates right underneath. For example, I will put the cubes now. Now this should be enough of a elevation for a start, but even if this is not enough, you can crank it up a little bit more, maybe put an additional plate or something. So I will put the barbell right here. And as you can see now, I decrease the angle and the movement will be much easier because I don't have too much of a height to pick the barbell from. This is a better starting position for most of the people that I've trained because, you know, some people have rounded spines, like naturally they're like this and they can't extend it. So this will be a much better position to start with. Set your feet, set everything like we said. Now from this point up, we pick it up, boom, come back down. It should be much easier, and you will progress eventually by decreasing the angle. For example, you do 50 kilo or 60 kilo here with the elevation, you will drop the weight to 30, 40 kilo and you will try it without elevation, or you can try with slight elevation. And that's how you will progress in your deadlift without increasing too much of a weight. Feet straight, hip width apart. Arms go right next to the legs. The bar is very close, even touching my shins, chest up. From here, what I want you to do is first do the retraction and depression like I said. Boom, right? And now you want to have the slack pulled out of the bar. What that is, the sound. Now that is pulling the slack out of the bar. That sound means that you're engaged, ready to get up and pick up the barbell. One more key thing we have is how to breathe and prepare your core for the deadlift. What you want to do is breathe and expand like someone wants to punch you. This is called 360 bracing. Means that you will be braced from the whole circle of the core. That's what it is for. You want to have braced lower back, obliques, abs, everything. And from there, you'll pull the barbell up. Let's try to do everything in one motion and perform the movement. Get into the position, pull the slack. From here, like I said, you can do two things. One of them, if you have a very heavy weight or if you want to do the concentric portion only, you will just drop the bar down and then set up for another rep. But if you want to have that eccentric lengthening, that muscle lengthening, you can start with a slight, let's say 1 to 2 second descent, boom, by following the same pattern. Hips go back, slight bend, like we practiced with the empty bar. So let's do it like that. You want to set up. So I start with the hip hinge, slight bend, boom, all the way down, and I'm ready for the next rep. Now, there's a lot of ego lifting in the deadlifts. And that happens because you can lift a lot more in the deadlift with improper form. Because the body can lift more when you perform the movement with a rounded spine. So if it figures that this is a very heavy weight, you don't perform it properly, and you want to pick it up, it will round. And that is not good. One of the main reasons is, of course, that it can create a disc bulge because of the rounding. And it's a lot of stress on the spine, which can create an injury, of course. Think about the deadlift as a push-pull exercise, because with the legs, you push into the floor, and with the upper body, you try to pull as much as you can. So you want to do those things at the same time, and as you come up, the hips and the upper body rise at the same time. There's a problem happening if the hips rise first, and then all the load is on the spine. It's like you perform a Romanian deadlift from the floor and with a lot of weight. That's why I'm always saying to people, put a camera, don't be ashamed of filming your sets, just so that you can see how's your form and how you can improve it. And if the rounding happens at the T-spine or the upper back, it's not very dangerous. The dangerous part is the lower back if it happens. So you always want to make sure that your progression comes from a better form. And when you master that form, you try to put more weight, but be patient. Don't just be putting like additional 10, 20% of the weight that you're pulling currently. You want to have slight increases, maintain that proper form, fill it well, see how it is, and then maybe increase again. Because there are many fitness influencers out there, or athletes, that perform a bad deadlift or a rounded deadlift, and they say that it feels good for them. Yes, maybe it's a sweet spot sometimes, maybe because they don't want to tell you that they have some pain sometimes. But when you see professionals perform, or when you see the Olympic weightlifting athletes perform the deadlift, because it's a staple for their exercises, like the clean and jerk and everything starts with a deadlift, you can see they have the perfect deadlift. So that's why you always try to maintain that perfect form. Let's talk a little bit about accessories you can use to have more weight on your bar. Now, when I talk about that, of course, I mean by adding the belt and also the straps, which can be out of great help, but let's clear some things on why they help and how you can use them. Let's start with the straps first. So what I try to do is always have a raw deadlift, meaning that I will try to perform without additional straps and without additional weightlifting belt. Now that's choice, honestly, because if you want to try with a heavier weight, the grip can definitely be a limiting factor. That's why some people do opposite forces like this. It's better for pulling, it won't slip, and you can lift a couple more kilos, maybe like that. But that's also imbalance when you twist, when you supinate and pronate one arm. It's also an imbalance that you don't want to have very often. That's why I'm telling my clients, like, perform the warm-up sets and also some of the working sets, maybe the start, the first and the second set without using additional accessories. And maybe for the top set, for the last one or last two sets, you can add additional straps or maybe also add the belt. Straps, in my opinion, are great because the grip can be a limiting factor. And if you have a Romanian deadlift or you perform a Bulgarian split squat, and if you're a girl, you want to have additional weight pulled, you need to use these and have more weight because the legs can sustain that, but the grip cannot. Now, as far as the belt goes, this provides stability. Many people feel safe when using the belt, but also they don't know how to properly wear it. But I want to train my core by performing the deadlift. So let's say that the deadlift is also a advanced exercise for core, because for core, you can also perform, some planks, some crunches. You want to perform the first 3-4 sets, like I said, without using the additional weight. Just make sure you have that proper form and also the proper breath. On the last set, let's say you put the belt so you can put some additional 10 kilos of weight. Now, there are a lot of belts out there and you can choose one for yourself to see which one suits for you best. So before initiating, you do a vacuum so that you can see where you can put it. You plug it in, boom, or you tight it, whatever. Now, when you're relaxed, you want to be able to put 2 fingers inside. But when you perform the movement, remember the breathing we said. So you want to take a big breath, 360, squeeze like someone wants to punch you, and now I can no longer fit 2 fingers inside, okay? You get ready, pull the slack, boom. As soon as you finish, relax, boom, take it out, and get a breather. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the accessories, but if you feel safer and if you want to put some additional weight at the end, somewhere around 3rd, 4th, 5th set, when you finish, my advice is to put the belts. Hopefully these cues help you get the most out of your conventional deadlift. Let's say that you develop the proper form and now you are stuck at a certain weight. Maybe it's time for a deload. You can just take a week off or perform the exercise with smaller weights. Additional things you can do is perform the same weight, try to add a rep or 2. But let's say that you did that. Also, you can have a week where you perform the deadlift with a decreased angle, like we showed previously, where you elevate the plates and you perform with a heavier weight from that position because maybe that's a stuck position from you, that top portion. What you can also do is pause deadlift, where you pause right below the knee joint, hold for like 2 seconds, explode up. This is a sticking point for many people when attempting to perform their max deadlift. So put like 60-70% of your 1 rep max and try to perform pause deadlift for 2 seconds. What you can also do is perform resistant bend deadlifts, which will provide resistance for the come up and not for the eccentric movement. This will help you achieve top end strength because this portion right here is the easiest when you come up, but when you have the resistant bends, the most tension they will provide is right at the top, right? This lockout will be very important to lock your knees, be fully straight, and that will help you definitely get better at deadlift, especially at that point, at that angle. And one more thing I would add as a progression to try is to increase the angle of the deadlift, meaning that you can put some plates or the blocks for elevation of your feet. So I'm elevated at the feet now. This is a much more difficult position to start in. And yeah, if you don't have the proper mobility, you probably won't even be able to get in this position. But if you have the proper mobility and you've been training your deadlift for a while, you can try to perform this deadlift where you gotta have a little bit more knee flexion at the knee joint. And from here, you try to perform the same movement. This is much more difficult. You can use also 60 to 70% of your 1 rep max and perform this deadlift. And maybe eventually when you come next week, perform your 1 rep max with the normal deadlift, the conventional deadlift with everything, you will be able to pick it up and kill it. So those are the most important things of the deadlift that I can think of. If I'm missing something, feel free to comment down below and maybe we can do another video and get some additional cues and additional tips. I try to keep it as short as I can, but also as informative as I can so that you can really see the whole picture and really get the most out of your deadlift. Make sure you like this video and definitely send it to someone that is figuring out their deadlift or doesn't know how to deadlift or doesn't want to deadlift because they are afraid, and maybe we can change their mind. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and we will see you in the next video. Peace.